Hi everyone, it is Dr. Ava Egu Brown, and I'm really excited to be doing this today. I am excited because it is at the end of the day. I've spent a lot of time with my son today, and I really wanted to jump on here to just talk to you guys about a few tips and tricks to literally get your mindset together to help with your well-being and your welfare as we endure this coronavirus. Now, you may be worried about COVID-19, as it is called, and how it could affect your life. And if you're going to sit there and say it's not affecting your life, that would be furthest from the truth. All of us, at some point or the other, across the world, is impacted by COVID-19. So today I'm going to talk to you because I know some of you might be feeling a little bit stressed. There are lots of things that you can try and you could do that would help your well-being. And I know this because I have been on the phone most of the days since COVID has come into life, as it were, talking to people who are either anxious or they're worried or they've lost loved ones, etc., etc. Now, the government has given the guidelines and they have said stay at home, avoid public areas. And that may be, this whole isolation thing may be having an impact on a number of us that are going through this whole isolation, lockdown mode. And so today I'm going to give you some practical skills and tips that are going to help you to literally navigate this process, navigate this period that is so uncertain for so many of us, that is so uncertain for our kids who are out of school, uncertain for our parents who we cannot see. I was looking at Facebook today and I saw something that really, really touched me. It was Eddie Nestor from BBC, and he was talking about somebody has died in his family and how he could not even be at the cremation. And so I know that a number of families are going to be impacted by this. And so I'm going to give you some tips and tricks that I'm going to ask you to just have a look at to help to maintain a healthy mindset in this stage, because this is the stage where so many of us could lose our minds. And I'm not saying that callously, I'm saying that honestly. We're not used to this instant, sudden lockdown. Today I was sitting at home and I was thinking, I'm not somebody who goes out a lot. I work from home. I'm a very virtual person. I'm in the new generation, as it were. But today, I really wish that I could go to the coffee shop. I wish that I could actually go to the shop to browse. And I'm not a big shopper anymore. So I'm going to give you some tips and tricks that are going to be really good for you in terms of mindfulness. The first one I want to talk about is the news. And I really want to talk about the news from the perspective of not taking in too much of the news. The news can be negative and it can be positive. It depends on how we choose to take it in. So avoid watching too much of the news. Take it into snippets, get the information you need, and then walk away from it. The second thing I want to talk to you about is to structure your day. Now, this might sound really crazy because, Ava, we're at home, so what are you talking about? Correct. But structuring your day, if you don't have children, structure your day in a way that you have chunks of 2-hour exercises and activities that you're going to do. Now, when I say exercises, I'm not talking about physical exercise alone. I'm talking about how can you chop up your day. If you're somebody who's working from home, then of course you'd have had a schedule that you're going to have to stick to. But what about those of us who have lost our jobs, we're not working, we're dealing with that stress, and we're also dealing with COVID? So I want you to think about, the first thing is to watch the news in moderation, get just what is necessary, get just what you need. Number 2 is to literally structure your day. Structure your day in 2-hour chunks. Set yourself activities and things that you're going to do every 2 hours of the day. And 2 hours because we're at home, we haven't got any deadlines, we have nowhere to be. I was laughing with my children and I was saying to them, oh, where will I go for Easter? And my son said, oh, we could go to the kitchen. And then I'm saying, no, we could go to the front room. Really, we have nowhere going. So structure your day into 2-hour slots. What could you do in those 2 hours? You may ask me, Ava, what could I do in those 2 hours? Well, personally, if I were to take my 2 hours because I work from home, it will be very different from yours. So you are cognizant of what your day looks like. So sit down and think about it. So you could have your breakfast and then you could exercise, right? So that could be in 1-2 hour slot. The other 2 hour mean you could read a book. So there might be a book that you want to read, or if you have grandchildren around, you could read a book with your grandchildren. I'm just making things up as I go along, because everybody's lifestyle and housing situation is different. You could spend 2 hours on the phone with different persons, or one person if you want, and really just honing to tapping into persons and individuals in your life that you have not caught up with in a long time. The other thing you could do to chunk up your day is to cook. Learn a new recipe. For those of us who don't know how to cook or might want to expand, what I'm giving you is some ideas of what you can do. But I want to get into something more interesting that I want you to think about, is to re-engage with your hobbies. What are the things that you like to do? I like to crochet, and I must say that I've been thinking about it. Do you like to knit? Do you like to play the guitar, the trombone, the piano? What instruments can you actually creatively make in your house that you may not be able to buy? Notwithstanding, Amazon and eBay are still open. What about looking for all of those old pictures that you have that you want to put together in an album? What about baking a cake? Write that book. Or what about grabbing the family together and create a collage, a family picture, a family album? Those are some of the things you can do to really take your mind off and to chunk up your day. I talked about decluttering and reorganizing and all of that. But the first thing you need to reorganize is your mind. COVID-19 is a time when we are going to be forced, if we didn't want to spend more time with the family. While you're not able to socialize with your outside friends physically, although a lot of us are going online, create fun events with your family, game nights, movie nights, binge nights, when you pick it out and you eat, and okay, go easy on that one. Craft nights, bingo nights, take an improvement project on in your house. Or, I love this game of yes or no. It's so amazing. Whatever you do, try to spend more time with your family. Now, I really think that we need to add quiet time. So whilst I'm doing this Facebook Live right now, my son is upstairs and he is involved in quiet time. Quiet time because it's school holidays. He's informally structured at the moment. And I am not going to feel bad about that, because psychologically, as an 8-year-old child, his whole world is disrupted. And so keeping him into structure is difficult. So right now he had some television that he watched, he read books, we played games. And I've just said to him, whilst I'm doing this Facebook Live, I want you to have some quiet time. And in that quiet time, all I want you to do is to sit in stillness. Just to be in stillness. Because right now, a lot of us are not taking time to just be still. And being still, it is so important that in this time that we literally tap into stillness. We need to hear our heartbeat. We need to hear our thoughts. We need to literally just be still and relax and even go into that Zen state where we shut out Corona, we shut out the world, and we find some inner peace. It is those moments that is going to save our sanity. And I know that sometimes it's really hard and it's really crazy to get ourselves into that space, but we have to force ourselves. There are persons who I know since Corona has started who ended up in mental hospitals. As far as I knew, they were very healthy, normal, okay persons, but they cannot handle all of this. It's a bit too much for some of us. And so you have to find those spaces and those moments just for yourself, especially if you're in a household where you're not used to having everybody home at once for such long periods. We're going to have to start finding creative ways of how we're going to endure this situation. So I really am stressing the point that we need to find some quiet time. I really found the last week something very useful for me personally. I started working a little bit more on my bucket list. I always had a bucket list. And if you don't have one, I encourage you to do that. Now, yes, normal life and travel will resume at some point. Again, whether we're going to be vaccinated to travel or not, it's irrelevant. We are actually going to have to travel again. So why not do some research and scout out great spots and new destinations, places you've always wanted to go? Write them down and think of all the great things you can do. Plan your next holiday. It might not be next week, next month, 6 months from now, but why not literally sit down now and plan out all the activities, all the places, all the goals, all the things that you want to see and experience. It's a great time to do that. And what better time to think about, your bucket list than during this period? In this period when life reminds us that we must not take it for granted. In this period when life is saying to us, you know what, pause and live in the now. I remember doing a Facebook Live about 2 years ago. And in that live, I focused on living in the now. And some people actually kept saying, oh, and I remember I used to be like that. I used to be somebody who would say, when I lose the weight, I'll find the husband. Well, I haven't found him yet, and I haven't lost all the weight, but I'm still here and I'm enjoying life. Or when I get rich, I'll go on holiday. If anything Corona has taught any of us is that we cannot postpone anything. We should not postpone anything. I said to a friend of mine, whenever the coast is clear, I have a villa that I've paid for in Croatia, and I'm going to take that holiday. I'm going to go. Whether I can afford to or not, I'm going to go. I'm just joking. I'm sure I'll be able to afford to, but I'm just giving you that option that you need to think about. What is it that you wanted to do for a very long time? You kept putting it off and you kept putting it off. This is the moment. Now is the time to decide that you are going to go on that holiday and you're going to do that. Now, you need to also rest and de-stress and get a lot of sleep. I have been literally pumping up on my sleep. I can see it in my skin. Can you guys see it? I've been pumping up on my sleep because I'm not getting up to do the school run. Thank God I don't like the school run. Don't let my son hear that. But I'm not doing the school run. So I'm getting a chance to be in bed later. I start my days most times now at 10 o'clock because I'm going to bed a little bit later. But what am I trying to say here? Whatever your routine looks like, make sure that you're de-stressing, you're having enough rest, and you're literally practicing relaxation techniques. Listen to calming music, and you don't have to go and buy them. YouTube is there. There's so much free music around. Nature, listen to the birds and the forest and the ocean, depending on where you live. Just literally be still and literally de-stress and decompose yourself and listen to music. Listen to the outside and take notice and appreciate all the sights and the sounds and the smells that are around you. The other thing I want to remind us to do, which is something that I think a lot more of us are doing as we go through this whole COVID period, is to be grateful. And some people might be saying, but what's there to be grateful for? Well, I want to say to you that there's a lot to be grateful for. And in part of our gratitude, we have to remember that we need to protect our mental health, right? And so in protecting our mental health, we are literally going to have to do these things and be grateful. 1 in 10 people around the world suffer from a mental disorder. We cannot forget that. And we have to remember that mental health is real. It is there. Stuck indoors, worried and being frantic is something that's going to impact mental health of a lot of people. So we don't want to have anxiety and more depression and alcohol overuse and misuse and drug misuse and depression and domestic violence. And already we're hearing a lot of this happening around the UK and around the world. And so I'm going to say to you that literally being grateful, get a gratitude journal going. Like, no joke. Get a gratitude journal going. Help somebody else. Helping others actually make you feel good. So remember that difficult times for everyone, we're in that space right now, and how you're feeling might be how somebody else is feeling. And you might not be able to do something physical for somebody, but digitally you might be able to do it. I was talking to a friend of mine recently, and she said that the children were talking by megaphones. Find creative ways of how you can actually stay in connection with people and do something good for somebody else. It might be that you're able to call a friend or call somebody who you have not spoken to forever. But in that conversation, you may be able to literally talk about things you can do together when this is over. Plan a virtual coffee morning with somebody who is going through a hard time. In every neighborhood, there's somebody who's lonely. Find that lonely person in your area. Find a way to find out. I always said to my pastor at my church that it's so important for us to have a directory of everybody in the church. It is so important, again, that when this is over, that we get to know our neighbors. We get to know whether the person is Black, white, Chinese. It doesn't matter. Get to know our neighbors and see who lives in our neighborhood, so that if we were to have, if in the unlikely event we were to have this again, then that might be something that we could be able to connect with each other. Try to eat healthily in this moment, well-balanced meals and drink enough water, because when we're indoors, we're so tempted to binge and eat and snack. I saw a friend of mine on Facebook today, and she was doing the sugar challenge, and I just really felt that, you know, I couldn't give up sugar right now because I craved a chocolate bar recently. So just try to eat very sensibly. Don't be like me. And I want to say, avoid screens before bed. Have that time when you're calmed down and you shut the world out, and create a new routine before bedtime. Create a clear and clean space. If you burn incense or candles, it's a good time before bed, you know, half an hour before bed, to go into your room and light a candle, light some incense, open the windows, and just let that fresh air in, and let that whole ambience and that environment be changed, and create the one that you want to fall asleep in. Try to manage your feelings. I think it's really important that we try to focus on the things that we cannot control. We can control, sorry. And the ones that we cannot control, we just have to let them go. We just cannot control certain things right now. So try to manage your difficult feelings. Try to focus on the things that you can control. Focus on where you get your information from. And remember that the things that are out of your control, there's nothing we can do about that. Think about, you know, the things that you enjoy doing. And if you can't do the things you normally enjoy doing, stay at home and just try to enjoy your home. There are so many of you who have amazing homes, and you've not spent enough time in them. You've toiled and you've worked for them, and you haven't been able to spend the time and the quality time in these homes. This is the time to enjoy your home and enjoy the persons who live in your home and enjoy the furniture that you worked hard for. But more importantly, start thinking about life after COVID. What are you going to do first? Write that down. What will you do first? I said to my son, after COVID, the first thing I'd love to do is just to go walk in the stores. Just go walking, just be outdoors and just be free. And so those are some of the tips that I want to give you to help your well-being and your mindset in this very difficult time. As somebody who's been through a lot of trauma myself, and I've developed a resilience muscle and a resilient mindset. And I just really wanted to share that with you, and just to say, although I've never been through something like this, I've gone through hurricanes, I've gone through other things, and I've survived. And I know that whilst in this process, there's a lot of hurt and a lot of pain, there could also be a lot of solace and a lot of taking care of our mental health, taking care of our well-being, and taking care of our mind, our family, and our loved ones. Let us also remember that we need to be our brother's keeper in this moment and in this time. And my biggest hope for this is that when this is finished, that the world will be a very, very different place. That's one of my biggest desire, that when all of this is finished, that we can literally become very different people, nicer people to each other. I remember reading something that I saw on Facebook, I think it was recently, and I genuinely, it touched me in a way that I really had to send it around and share it with some persons. And I'm gonna share it with you guys today, because I feel like it's something that we should all be reminded of. So I'm going to share it with you. I saw it on Facebook. I don't know who wrote it, but it was beautiful. It says, we fall asleep in one world and woke up in another. Suddenly, Disney is out of magic. Paris is no longer romantic. New York doesn't stand up anymore. The Chinese wall is no longer a fortress, and Mecca is empty. Hugs and kisses suddenly became weapons, and not visiting parents and friends became an act of love. Suddenly you realize that power, beauty, and money are worthless and can't get you the oxygen you're fighting for. The world continues its life, and it is beautiful. It only puts humans in cages. I think it's sending a message to us. You are not necessary. The air, earth, water, and sky without you are doing just fine. When you come back, remember that you're my guest, not my master. And I thought that was just so beautiful, that the earth is saying, when you come back to me, right, you're not my master, you're my guest. And I want to say to us that one of my biggest hope out of this is that when we do make it through the other side, is that we're nicer to each other, we're nicer to the environment, we're nicer to ourselves. And we realize that the things that we thought were so necessary, were so important, are no longer important. It's Dr. Ava Eagle Brown. It is my hope that those who are useful to somebody, and if ever I can serve you as a life mindset and resilience coach, I'd love to do that in this process and on this journey. I'm going to drop my email below in the chat. You can always connect with me, or you can visit my site at avaeaglebrown.com. Have a great evening. God bless and stay safe.